took the crazy job, or crazy man doing the job where I commuted 4 hours a day.
Oh my gosh.
For 4 years. Hope to expect at Floyd, is that we get kids like that can get in there and get in the gym early and don't mind the hard work.
Just flat out awesome this next couple years is going to be. We have so many players at every class, 25, 26, and 27. There's players that are like every night in Southern Indian basketball can be a good team.
Era Sports. We're at the game.
Welcome back to the Era Sports podcast show. For the next couple weeks, we are going to be highlighting programs and players in the Southern Indiana area, both girls and boys, just to kind of get the season kicked off. It's a big deal down here. When the weather starts changing, it's time for some basketball. So today with me, we got Coach Fonzo. Coach, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, it's a pleasure, Brandon.
Tell me a little bit about your history. You are an outside hire, so some people might not know where you're from, who you are. So tell me just a little bit about you.
Well, just in short, I've got both high school and college coaching experience, and I'm just one of those guys that's been a journeyman, and I took all the jobs that people didn't really want or said you couldn't have success at, and managed to have some success. Being Clinton Central when I took over there, they were 0-24 when I came into the program, and you got to come in, you got to get a good staff with you that believes in your vision and can help you put that vision out there and get the players to buy into it, so that way you can have that success. And the first year we had two studs as juniors that were able to come back as seniors, which one was Keenan Orr. He ended up going to play football at Kent State, had a pretty good solid career there at Kent State playing football. Then a kid by the name of Axel Brandenburg. Both 2020 kids worked their tails off. Any given night, they could have got 20 points, 20 rebounds, and you just knew they were going to come and bring it. We ended up winning more games in 2 years than they won in 6 or 8 years, I think it was, and which is a pretty good accomplishment for those kids, considering Clinton Central is a small 1A school in a rural area. But then went to Westfield for a year as an assistant coach with Shane Sumter. Got to see some of those good kids come through. Braden Smith, who was Mr. Basketball out of Westfield, plays at Purdue right now and having a pretty solid career. Watched him, how he worked and how he was a good workhorse and stuff in the gym early morning with his mom or his dad, just in there, just putting in the work. And, you got to love having a kid like that, and that's what I hope to expect at Floyd, is that we get kids like that can get in there and get in the gym early and don't mind the hard work. Went to Fort Wayne Lures, took the crazy job, or crazy man doing the job, where I commuted 4 hours a day.
Oh my gosh.
For 4 years. And, it's just one of those things where, you want to be a head coach, you go be a head coach. And, you don't count the miles, you don't count the money, you just go do it because you're passionate about it. And, again, coming here to Floyd, I don't have a son that plays for me like a lot of people do. So clearly all the guys that play for me in my program are my adopted sons, and that's how I treat them. I'm not going to be disrespectful to them in a way that I wouldn't be to my son. I'm going to talk to them directly. I'm going to make sure they understand that it's tough love, and I want their success above my success more so than anything, because if I can help them reach their goals and what they want to be and what they want to do, then we're all successful.
And going back to what you said about Braden, just wanted to put it in there that his game against Fishers in sectionals, there's a few games I've watched in my life where I'm like, that kid went in God mode. Were you there when they played?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, he was just. Did you see any highlights from that, Patrick?
I didn't, but I've seen him play enough to know.
Just diving out of bounds behind.
He's like that. He's like that. He's Mr. Basketball for a reason.
Because Fishers was really supposed to win that game on paper, probably, and then with Jalen and all that, and then Braden just went into. I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. It was crazy. So for you to witness on the sideline was pretty cool. So, tell me a little bit about your team. So you just got off June, then you probably got to watch your players some in July. From last year to this year, what returning players do you have?
Well, we got quite a few pieces, and it's going to be interesting. And every year you hit that reset button, especially with us. Coming in last year with me as a first-year coach at Floyd, you lose some integral pieces that could have helped you be better than 9-14. But you don't worry about what you lost and what you don't have. You just try to make the most out of what you have. And we got Sam Higgins coming back after playing only 9 games last season, was out most of the season due to injury. Looking forward to seeing him do some great things for us on the court. You know, we're trying to get him to understand his role a little bit better, that he doesn't have to be just a perimeter guy, but, you know, he can be more effective for us on the inside when he doesn't have to do as much with the basketball. And, you know, he played well in the Charlie Hughes for us. And, again, I don't put too much stock in the summer records and stuff like that, because it's all about evaluating and developing and teaching and trying to see what guys can learn in a short period of time that's going to help them be successful when it's time to get into the season. Landon Reed, freshman that played 22 out of 23 games for the most part of the season. Just looking forward to continuing his development and continue to watch him get better each and every day. You know, he's doing a lot of skills workout with 007 and some other guys, and, you know, it's just, you know, it's starting to show a little bit, you know, but it's just getting him to understand that, you know, some of those moves will transfer over to the game when it needs to, but not all skill work can transfer over to a team game. And that's what, you know, every kid fights at in their minds with how well that stuff translates over. Jackson Stone, another sophomore, that would be pretty solid for us. We're probably going to look for him to be the point guard, because he's a quarterback of a football team. You know, kind of like Tristan Robertson was for us that we lost. Just looking for Jackson to make good decisions for us on the floor and just help get the other guys in a position to set them up. Carter McQuigg will be a junior that will help us out tremendously. He's had a pretty good AAU season this summer, played pretty good for us in the Charlie Hughes as well. Continue to get stronger and get more athletic. Just looking for good things out of him. And then the big piece to this whole thing is that, you know, if we can get Kaiser from football injury free, you know, it will be a blessing for us, because, you know, that kid is our most athletic kid and has a big upside to him. I mean, very athletic in multiple sports. So just looking forward to watching him and watching his leadership and how he manages our team on the floor for us.
So a lot of these teams, like in your area, Jeffersonville, New Albany, they've got a lot of seniors. You guys played a lot of underclassmen, and you've still got some kids coming up. What's kind of your hope and your direction for the program going forward?
Well, right now, again, we played a lot of freshmen this summer. We had about 4 or 5 freshmen that played for us in a Charlie Hughes and IU team camp, Butler team camp, Purdue team camp. And again, not so much looking at wins and losses, but looking at who can compete, who can answer the challenge, what skill work do we need to send guys home with to work on, and, you know, who's going to buy into that we over me philosophy that we have, you know, that's going to be selfless day in and day out, and, you know, do what you say you're going to do and just stand on business and just come to work. And, you know, we have Luke Ellis, which is a 6'4" freshman that is a very strong athlete, plays football as well. Have Hudson Smith, 6'3" freshman, lanky. He's playing in Battle of the Bridges this weekend. Ethan Noble is playing in Battle of the Bridges. Noah Baker. Again, those 4 right there stand out as freshmen that, you know, we want to move them quickly as we can and get them as ready as we can for the varsity level. And again, you take your knocks with those younger guys, because, again, everything that they experience at the varsity level right now is only going to pay dividends when they become a junior or a senior, and they have that experience to help us out.
I like Landon Reed a lot. So my best friend's Nick Reed, played at Chi 2016. It's his little cousin. So growing up, I got to see Landon at like 2, 3, 4 years old, you know, just coming to games and stuff. So now to see him as a true gym rat. And when I tell people, there's a couple players in the area, when people ask, like, you know, what should I do? Landon's one of those guys. He doesn't train with one guy. He trains with Quentin Snyder and Bryant Northern. He goes to 007 and he's running hills. And it's like you said, it doesn't all translate to the game. But if you really want to be the best, you got to train like the best and with the best. And I really think like he's putting himself in positions that he's training with the right people. And I'm really excited to watch him. I got to watch him with his Indiana Elite team several times this year. I think he's playing this upcoming weekend. I'm going to watch him play, but he's just a kid. I really like Landon. That'll be somebody we cover a lot in this upcoming season.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you spoke a little bit about your summer. Obviously, the elephant in the room here is the big boys. Like, what is going to be your message to your team? How can we get past the Jeffersonville? How can we get past the New Albany? Because truthfully, I mean, you are Floyd Central. You're no knock. I mean, Floyd Central is a storied program. How do you get back to being mentioned with those guys and being contenders and overcoming them?
I think the biggest thing is going to be our preseason, how well we attack that preseason and how well can we get guys in shape coming from football. Because, again, we have multi-sport athletes and, you know, in a perfect world, you would love to have kids be like a Center Grove and be like Jeffersonville, where you have a big three, or be like New Albany, where you have those guys that are just completely your basketball guys. But, we don't have that luxury at Floyd. And, we are a big school, but we also have to share athletes just like some small schools do, like Chi and other schools. I guess our main goal, as long as we can continue to focus on the we, and we continue to be a better passer for each other, be a better screener for each other. And if we can get the team concepts and team fundamentals down a little bit better than New Albany and Jeffersonville, my hope is that we can offset, the star power that each of those teams have with team play.
Sure.
It's not anything against any teams, but you do have, we've talked with other coaches on the podcast of how just flat out awesome this next couple of years is going to be. We have so many players at every class, 25, 26, and 27. There's players that are like every night in Southern Indiana basketball is going to be a good game. And so we're really excited for that. A couple of your teams, I got Sam Higgins actually playing for Air Elite this weekend. That's another guy that he trains a lot. He likes being in the gym. We're excited to film him. But what are you we've asked every coach this on players and teams. Of course, at the 4A level, you're doing scouting all the time, and you take care of your team. But what maybe 2, 3, 4 players aside from Floyd Central that you're just really excited to watch? Because that's one cool thing about Southern Indiana is like that poster right there. Like everybody really, other than when you're playing each other, everybody wants everybody to do well, and the players are super good around here. So what are 2, 3, 4 players you're really excited to watch, really any level?
Well, I had a pleasure at the IBCA Top 100 to coach Mike Cooper. And, young man is just, he's maturity beyond years, okay? And I think, he's doing a great job for Coach Wilkerson over at Jeffersonville, where he's able to lead that team. And, I think he's that X factor for them, that he can translate to PJ. He can get Trey where he needs to be. And, again, he's got 2 good players around him, and those 2 guys. And just watching how those 3 guys will develop and, solidify their legacy at Jeffersonville and Southern Indiana and amongst the state. I think they will go pretty far. It should be them and Fisher's probably in the championship of 4A basketball, unless, somehow
now hold on, Coach.
We jump in there. We jump in there, But, it's just, in a perfect world, I would love to see us be there. But, if I had to root for somebody, it's going to be Jeffersonville. And, because those young men, 3 great young men, as well as the team and Coach Wilkerson, you just love to see people in your area have success and be successful. And, I think with Mike, again, just having the opportunity to coach him during that IBCA and just getting him to understand that, college coaches were there to see them. Yeah, you're going to have offensive firepower. But when I said, you can turn the script on this whole thing if you go play defense. And for him to get 5 guys on the floor, and get them to buy into playing defense and holding another all-star caliber team to 13 points and a half, or however we played those games. And I think you were up top watching a couple of the games. I mean, the kid has great leadership skills and will go far.
See, that was a smart answer, because it's not New Albany, right? As a Floyd Central guy, can't say New Albany. It's we want Jeffersonville or Floyd Central, just not New Albany, right?
No, I mean, Coach Jones is doing a great job over there, and he's got a good freshman in Noah coming in, and Noah Washington would do some amazing things over there at New Albany, and he's got a couple upperclassmen in that group that will help Coach Jones and his coaching staff have a successful year as well. And Coach Jones and I talk quite a bit. And, I know it's not Southern Indiana style when you're...
Don't say that too loud.
He's on the podcast next.
When you're talking back and forth about New Albany and Floyd. Yeah. But, I think, that's what life's about. Life's about relationships and being able to respect people and respect the hard work that they put in. And, that, we all are different, but, our mindset and our goals is for people to have success. Sure. And, you just always want to see... long as it's like your 2 favorite teams are whoever plays New Albany and Jeffersonville, yeah. but down here. But
Now you talked about your role in the IBCA. Could you go a little more in depth about that? What is it you work with there?
So we got a meeting coming up. Our first meeting's coming up August the 11th up in Indianapolis, and we'll go over some fine points and go over the timeline on the schedules and go over the memberships of all the coaches in the state and look who's where and look and see what coaches need to be contacted to see if we, on the podcast, I'm going to say this. Every coach, make sure you get your staff signed up for the IBCA. And, it helps out with the clinic. And, it just helps out with a lot of things. When it comes to voting, you can't vote for anything if you're not a member. So you got to be a member of the IBCA in order to have your vote and, put your votes in. And, it's just a lot of useful resources that the IBCA has and just different things as being a member of the IBCA that will help carry a long way for a lot of coaches, as far as, the networking that you have with the networking with jobs and just getting on the schedule of different opponents and, getting better opponents for your team.
So you talked about Mike. Give me two more players you're excited to watch this year.
So Trey, just see how he handles a lot of the pressure of, that is going to be on his shoulders being one of the best players in Southern Indiana, as far as the state, and in a perfect world, you want to see a kid like that. Hopefully he makes a strong case for himself to be an Indiana All-Star, as well as Cooper, make a strong case for himself to be an Indiana All-Star. You got at the, I think it's 1A level, Kai, you're Josh Renfro. I look forward to seeing how he develops and, if anything bigger comes for him, I think at the end of the day, I think he's a pretty solid scorer. I got to watch him play with Sam Higgins on a team this past summer. And, I think he can shoot the ball about as good as anybody that's playing at a Division III, Division II, and most small Division I schools. And, I think, just in the right place, right time, right frame of mind, with the right coach that says yes to him, I think he can flourish in someone's offense, if given the opportunity to. Then you got to look at I think Coach Miller's got a couple of kids over at Providence that will be pretty decent. I think he's got a guard that's returning that came in late in the game against us and knocked a couple of threes down for him.
Preston Kemp.
Thank you. You do so many scout reports, you forget some of these names, and then I look at
Tucker.
I look at Silver Creek with Kazan Daga.
Do you open the season with Silver Creek?
We open the season with
That's what I
Silver
thought.
Creek,
Okay.
and it's I'm looking forward to that. Coach Hoffman's going to be in a dual role as athletic director and coach. That's a great accomplishment for him. Congratulations to him on being named the athletic director over there, and I'm sure he will help raise the level of Silver Creek athletics the way it needs to be moving forward with that program. But, I hope he's got too much work on his hand.
There we go. Just yeah.
There's always that double edge there.
So you go Silver Creek, and then you got Richmond coming down. What are some other additions to the season that you've had, or who are you excited to pick up, or holiday tournaments, or what's that looking like?
So we had a couple opportunities to go. We had an opportunity to go to Washington and play at the Hatchet House like New Albany's doing. And, I'm just one of those guys that I'm very adamant about my schedule. So if I know games are coming off, I'm trying to have that schedule knocked out by April, May at best, and we were able to get our schedule done by the last week of April. And we go to North Central up in Indianapolis. So we'll get to go up there and see, the kids can see Central Indiana and see what those gyms and what those facilities are like up there. And, I think that's the biggest thing, here in Southern Indiana is that, we have us and New Albany and Jeffersonville, and we have what we deem as the mecca of gyms down in Southern Indiana.
Seymour.
But, you have Silver Creek that's putting in all those renovations over there that will be that rivals the facilities of a Westfield and a Carmel. And, if you hadn't been up Carmel lately, they got that big natatorium going in. And
when you have Charlestown, that's like probably one of the nicest, facilities around in our area, and got a lot of exciting things going on around here. So tell me a little bit about your coaching staff. We've said with every coach that's on here, at every level, they're probably the most underappreciated people. They don't get seen a lot, but they are one of the most important aspects to a team in the season for scouting, for driving the bus, for whatever it is. So tell me who's on your staff, who are your guys, and what are you looking forward to with them this season?
Well, I'm just looking forward to still building that bond with guys. I have Coach Miller, Michael Miller, that was at Lanesville, And, every coach wants a veteran coach on their staff. And, Michael's been very good at being that veteran guy and, making sure you understand the importance on, when you're looking at the scout report, what is it that we're looking to try to do here? What is it that we really got to stop? Oh, I like that idea that we want to play a 2-1-2 against his team, which will work out in our favor, and this is why, and he makes me dive a little bit more, and that's what I've always said I wanted was a coach that's going to make me dive into things more. Then I got the tech guy in Jacob Schaefer, as he's our technology guy, sits on the sideline, iPad sometimes with shooting charts and stuff like that, and he's just very tech savvy and can read data very good for us and do a lot of things. And then Seth Burks is going to be probably our JV coach this year. Young guy, played at Floyd, has a lot of energy to bring to the table. Tom Goldman is going to be our freshman coach.
OG.
You still have to deal with Hudson.
No, I think Hudson's going to take the time off from the standpoint that, Jake's playing at Clemson.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, that's going to be a lot of travel within itself, trying to make those games. And then he has a daughter playing at University of Evansville volleyball.
Yeah,
and
Hudson's my guy, so
yeah,
no shade.
I love that guy, man. He's like, he's that big teddy bear guy that, you just got to love having around. And, he has a lot of useful information for you as well. Then, just on Tuesday, I'm looking to hire at least 8 guys at my middle school level. We're going into having 2 7th grade teams and 2 8th grade teams so we can be a little bit more competitive. So I'm looking to fill spots for those guys. So I got 8 interviews set for Tuesday afternoon to look at trying to fill those spots. And, it's just good for the whole program that you got a lot of guys interested in wanting to be a part of what you got going on.
Yeah. And then the next part of that is, we like to hear a little bit more about the non-basketball stuff. So you come down, I assume you're teaching at the school, kind of like what's it like to be at Floyd Central? What's it like to teach? What classes do you teach? And what's the everyday Highlander life like for you?
So for me, I teach both PE1 and PE2. So I teach 2 sections in the morning of those classes, and then in the afternoons, I got 3rd through 5th period where I teach college and careers classes. And, I think, the college and careers class is like one of my favorite classes because, I can help kids build a resume. I can help them understand networking and building relationships, just getting them to understand, that everything's not just sports and that there's other things that we got to rely on to be able to survive in everyday life outside of basketball or athletics or school in general. So just helping prepare them for that interview process that they got to go through and understand that, you're not always going to get the yes answer when you walk into an interview. You're going to get no sometimes. And again, it just builds a relationship with them as a student more so than from an athletic side of things. You get to understand that student side more so than the athleticism.
Have you been to a theater performance yet?
Yes.
Unbelievable. What are you laughing at, man? You don't understand.
He's trying to make it a basketball school, not a theater school.
Well,
that's not going to work because they're unbelievable.
Right. Well, and to that note, I graduated from Franklin College, and Franklin made us take an array of college classes to prepare us. And I love everything about the fine arts. I like the music, like the band. I watch the band practice a little bit, watch them perform, watch the color guard. I just try to be visible as much as I can and show up. If I show up and they see me and they're like, "Hey, Coach White came to my my recital or my violin play or whatever, whatever we got going on at Floyd, I try to be engulfed in it so that way those kids know I'm taking an interest in them outside of just, basketball and athletics. I care more about the fine arts side of things too.
And that's what you see, Patrick. Don't you laugh. Because
That's
Floyd
a part
Central.
That's a part of being a coach. And
he
that's
retired
the
this
process.
year, but Mr. Yankee puts on the best pep band performance you'll ever see. At the football games, the color guard and the marching band are top in the state every year. And I went to a Floyd Central musical one time, and they were flying people from the ceiling at a high school performance. And it was a Peter Pan. He comes flying over my head, and I'm like, I'm at a high school right now. So don't you laugh, man.
You can text me about it.
Oh, okay. Coach, we just want, like I said, we want Central and the top of Indiana to really know these Southern Indiana schools and programs. If you could leave this podcast with a couple things, like this is Floyd Central, these are Highlanders, this is who Floyd Central is going to be this next coming year, what would those be for you?
I would say that we're going to be one of the toughest teams around. And, from the standpoint that we got a lot of kids that are willing to work hard. And, it's just, it's a process. And I don't think a lot of people understand, whether it be outside fans or parents, everybody wants their kid to be that kid, but they don't understand the process and the mind and the body that kid has to go through in order to get to that point. And you're not going to wave a magic wand and say, oh, I'm going to be a giant killer in year 1, year 2. I mean, it's a process, and, you got to build the culture, you got to build the mindset, and you got to have those kids that are willing to pay that price and buy into what you're trying to get them to buy into, which is the vision of being one of the best teams in the state, not just Southern Indiana, but in the state of Indiana. And for that matter, one of the top teams in the country, if you could get to that level of play and have the consistency with all your players.
Listen, Southern Indiana is better when Floyd Central is good, because that rivalry with New Albany back in like the Kobe Barnes, Romeo Langford days, the gym was popping, it was rocking. So we all want to see Floyd Central get there.
Well, it's great when Kobe comes back in and Jake comes back in, those Luke Goldman, all those Grant Goldman, all those guys come back in and, just talking to them, they're still gym rats and they want to play, they want to be around. And, kind of like after your freshman next program that we're going to do out at Floyd, my hope is to get an alumni game going on with those guys and just be consistent with that, so that way we keep those faces in there and they, they can get to know their names on a level, like with Pat Graham and, Jason Kimagore and,
These kids don't know about Pat Graham. They don't go back that far.
Well, that's the good part, too. At our air runs, we'll have New Albany and Floyd guys come, and they still, to this day, Jake doesn't talk at all, so I'm not talking about him, but they're chippy, they'll fight. It's just fun because when those two schools are good and those games, Jeff New Albany, you in New Albany, when those games are good, it just makes everybody happier. I think you're the right guy to be here, build this program back up, and it's really what we talked about with Matt Lynch as well, is that like you hiring the right people in those 7th and 8th grade roles are almost more important than your staff with you, because they're building your vision for Floyd all the way up through the next level and the next generation. And I'm looking forward to seeing some future Highlanders just dominate.
Hey, that's our plan. And, we got the feeder system going, the FC Futures program that we got going on too, which they only had 2 teams, I think, in the previous year. We had 8 last year. We'll move it to 12 this year. We actually have tryouts after that week of that you have your freshman program. We got tryouts for that coming up. So, just looking forward to moving it with 12 teams. And, again, we got a lot of people that want to coach those teams and just getting guys and people on board to what we're trying to do, so that way we can be that premier program in Southern Indiana. And, again, get it back to those golden days where, everybody shows up for Jeffersonville, New Albany, and Floyd games and just be ready to rock the gym.
Yes, there we go. Coach, thanks for coming out today. We're really looking forward to covering your team this year, covering Southern Indiana and some big games. And thank you for bringing some indie teams down here that we can cover them as well. We appreciate that. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the podcast, and we look forward to putting out the rest of the podcast leading up to the season. Make sure you follow us for all the sports content coming up and Patrick's articles. He's a really good writer, so follow him.
Era Sports. We're at the game.